to settle deeply in the center of you, because that is exactly where it belongs. And maybe you have a video game out right now as well. And if that's the case, good luck in your gaming. As we get back to our story here. Whoops. Turn the audio on for a second. Alright, so let me see what I can do with what's in my bag here, because it does look like the team is still stressed from the end of our last adventure, and I don't even have any revives. So the question now is, do I leave the gym and come back so that I can go to the Pokemon Center and have a Nurse Joy fix up the team for me, or do we attempt to take on the gym leader here with only 4 Pokemon? We've got a Snorlax, Gloom, a Fletchinder, and a Kecleon. Well, I believe that this gym leader uses rock-type Pokemon, since there are a lot of rock climbing walls all around. And that means that Fletchinder is going to be not the best Pokemon to bring into this fight. But we've got Snorlax, who has... Let's see what moves Snorlax has so we can check in on what it might do here. It has Chip Away, Lick, Defense Curl, and Amnesia. None of those are super effective against the rock type. But here we've got our amazing Gloom named Night Soil. And Night Soil knows Mega Drain, which would be really effective. And also Sleep Powder, which is always good. Morning Star here, the Fletchinder, has got a couple different attacks. Flying, fighting, fire, and normal, but none of those are going to be very effective. And lastly, Breeze the Kecleon, who has a Psybeam attack that could do something. Let's see if we have a TM maybe that we could teach one of these guys, just because the process of going to the Pokemon gym would take too long at this point. We could teach someone Rock Smash, which Pancham knew or knows, but rather is unable to do that at this time. So let's give Rock Smash to, not Frogadier. Frogadier is also knocked out at this moment. less than half its HP. The next Pokemon Grant sends out is a Tyrant. Tyrant is the other fossil Pokemon that debuted in this game, and it is also a rock type. But in addition to rock, it is the dragon type, which gives it some resistance to the elements like water, grass, and fire. So I guess it's good that we did not lead with Gloom. And I'm also noticing now that this is Grant's only other Pokemon, so I think we've got this in the bag. This must be the first gym leader, because this doesn't seem to be too much of a challenge. Munchie gets in a critical hit, another critical hit, Rock Smash on the Tyrant, but struggles to get another hit in. Tyrant responds with a stomp, flattening Snorlax. In case you couldn't see it, the animation literally flattened Snorlax to a one-dimensional pancake for a brief moment. I'm gonna get daring and send out the Fletchinder Morningstar just to taunt this rock dragon here, and we're gonna have Fletchinder peck the Tyrant, and of course it's not very effective, and Tyrant responds with a Rock Tomb, immediately knocking out Fletchinder. That was to be expected. But we will send in our Kecleon, and both its attacks, all of its attacks, should do normal amounts of damage. Oh, I forgot. Kecleon actually changes type based on the moves that hit it. So, because it was just bitten by Tyrant, it is now the dark type. So we'll go ahead and have it use Feint Attack if it survives this Rock Tomb, which it does not. Tyrant's speed outclasses Kecleon and buries it in a pile of rubble. We're down to our last Pokemon, Night Soil, the Gloom, Nulia Gloom, if I remember. Let's see if she's got what it takes to knock out this Tyrant. I'm torn between Mega Drain and Sleep Powder, but I think we'll just go with the attack and hope that this bite doesn't do too much damage. Thankfully, it did not. And we get our third critical hit in the match. And we drain the remaining HP from the Tyrant and transfer it to Gloom. Grant says as he gazes to the sky, "You have proven to be a wall that I am unable to surmount," and gives us some money. Well, that was lucky. He continues, "There are some things that seem out of reach no matter how hard you try. However, it's important that you never give up, no matter the opponent or the odds. I could tell from our battle that you and your Pokemon understand that. To commemorate such an impressive show of teamwork, please accept the Cliff Badge." And look at that, the Cliff Badge is ours. It's sort of a blocky charm, reminiscent of a rock climbing wall. With the Cliff Badge in your grasp, you should have no issues working together with Pokemon up to level 40. This even applies to Pokemon you've received from other people in a trade. And that's not all. You also get this TM30 face of challenges, and discovering our greater potential. We just found an ether under this rock after we scaled down this little mountain in which the gym sat. And now we run back to the Pokemon Center, so grateful to have survived the battle against Gym Leader Grant. And, we will now heal up everybody on the team so that they are back in good shape and ready to continue on our adventure. Rock Tomb is a pretty nice attack in that it is a rock type move that can also slow down the Pokemon that it hits. And rock can be a useful type to have. I don't actually have any rock type Pokemon on our team right now, but we can probably teach one of them Rock Tomb. Even Fletchinder might be able to learn that. Sometimes birds are able. Looks like somebody's standing here. And no, they just wanted us to fight Gym Leader Grant, which we've done. So now I think it's time to continue onto Route 10 and see what is north of Silage City here. And just before we go any further, I want to make sure we've got our weakest Pokemon up front so that they may grow stronger and we may all smile in their growth and evolution. And it looks like up over here there is a giant boulder that we could use a Pokemon to move. A Houndour has jumped out. Houndour. But we have come into contact with the fire and dark type Pokemon. And it howls at us. But Pancham throws a Comet Punch, which does very little damage. Oh, it's a multi-hit attack. It hit 3 times and did more than half of Houndour's HP and damage. Since we don't have one yet, I'm just gonna see if it wants to join up and toss a Pokeball at it. A great ball. But it was unsuccessful. Houndour breaks free and howls again at our Pancham, whose name is Leaf. I guess it's not that important. We've already got a fire-type Pokemon on the team, and our Kecleon has a dark move, and actually Leaf is also soon to be a dark-type Pokemon. I think its basic form here is just fighting, but when it evolves into the Grand Pangoro, it gains the dark type. So here we are, walking along a big boulder, which a Pokemon may be able to move if it knows the move Strength, which we do have the HM for. However, squirrel. But we're just gonna send it to a box and maybe use it at another time if it becomes clear that we need an electric type Pokemon. But now, okay, we've still got Snorlax, though you can't see her. Munchie is still out of her Pokeball, helping us move this boulder along so that we can get it into this giant hole in the ground since I think the support for the online aspects of the Nintendo DS have finally concluded, which didn't really bother me since I wasn't using those features of it anymore, but I know that there are many people for whom it probably was a big loss, or at least a sad moment, and I can only send my sympathies. But this lady is just, or rather we've interrupted this lady's walk, and she says they're just stones, right? I assume talking about the tall stones in the background. And so we are challenged by tourist Fumiko, who's been out looking at these large stones. She sends out a skip bloom, and we send out Leaf, who is still paralyzed. We're going to switch directly into Morningstar because this looks like a battle for a fire bird. And the skip bloom starts off with a fairy wind attack, which is not very effective because for some reason fairy moves are not very effective against fire type Pokemon. Morningstar throws back an ember, taking off half of Skiploom's HP, but then the Skiploom douses it with sleep powder, and our Fletchender is fast asleep. So we will try to send some attacks in, but my guess is they'll be asleep for a little bit here. The Skiploom throws another couple of fairy winds in Fletchender's direction, and our Morningstar remains fairly healthy despite the fairy wind. And soon it will wake up, I imagine. I think it's always fun to see the close-up of the sleeping Pokemon, because it isn't very often that you get to see the different sprites with their sleep animations. I know that for many players, there's a big hope that they will eventually add more animations to each of the Pokemon, whether it be animations for specific attacks or for the results of attacks, like when it is attacked, when it's knocked out maybe. Because I think that, say for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, if you were to use like the Dunsparce that we have in front of us here, Fumiko's second Pokemon, the animations are still the same as they were in this game. And so it has this feeling that the games themselves haven't really evolved much when it comes to their graphics. And I know too that there are people that are sort of developing different animations. I've seen some of these things online where people have created new battle animations that are often very extravagant. I mean, they look really good, but they stand out because when you're easier time taking out this water rabbit. I think it's sort of interesting that Azumarill, well, it has a lot of funny things about it, but one of those is that it starts as an Azurill, which was not in the original game that it debuted in many years ago. It's Stage 1 Marill, which was the first incarnation or revelation of this Pokemon. But in that stage, it is a water mouse. A water mouse. Emphasis on the mouse. Because when it evolves, it becomes a rabbit. And I'm sure there are other examples of this happening to a Pokemon. It starts as one creature, at least the corollary of a creature that we are familiar with in this world, and becomes another when it evolves. I feel like I should put somebody else out front, because poor Pancham is still paralyzed. Maybe I have a paralyzed heal. In fact, I do. I have 3 of them. So I'm going to use that to get rid of all that static electricity that's seizing up the little panda's muscles, and then followed up with a super potion. So Leaf is ready to go again. I'm hoping we're going to encounter some rock-type Pokemon in this giant rock garden. Let's see what this guy has to say. A few years back, this really strange dude named Colrus told me that these big stones emit some kind of special energy. Interesting. What kind of energy might it be? Something related to mega evolutions, I bet. Couldn't be terastallization. No one knows about that yet. Oh wow, we have encountered a horde of Yanma, which could get dicey because these fighting moves are not going to be useful against all these bugs, these dragonflies. Yanma recently was re-debuted in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's expansion pack, the Teal Mask, and while I was playing that and collecting all of the Pokédex entries, I had to remember the way in which Yanma evolves. And in case you didn't know, but I'm sure you do, it has to know the move Ancient Power. And when it does, when it levels up, maybe it has to be past a certain level, it will evolve into Yanmega. And then there is also another Pokemon that does that as well, and that is Piloswine, which only evolves into Mamoswine when it has learned the move Ancient Power. And so I guess this is to represent how both Mamoswine and Yanmega are these sort of ancient versions, one being the mammoth, which used to wander the great tundras of the Ice Age, and I want to say Megalanura, but I don't know that for sure, is the inspiration for Yanmega, this giant bug that existed in prehistoric times, the Cambrian Age or something. I don't know if that's true. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I have played a lot of Jurassic Park games, and often when you are sending your teams out to recover dinosaur DNA where you can encounter a big group of Pokemon at once. And I guess this is sort of the predecessor to the outbreaks that were first debuted in Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then are also present in Scarlet and Violet. But in this game, when you encounter them, something I learned was that there is a higher chance of one of them having the hidden ability, as most Pokemon have a hidden ability, which is an ability that is much rarer than their non-hidden abilities, and I want to say is not even attainable except in certain circumstances, such as, like in the new games, the Pokemon you find in terastallized caves have a greater chance of having a hidden ability. But I don't think you can encounter Pokemon with hidden abilities in the wild unless, for example, you encounter them in a horde. And now that we're down to just one Yanma, we're going to use a Pokeball and catch it. Bring it on, adding its entry into our Pokédex, so that one day we may catch them all in the Kalos region. Munchie and Leaf get a little experience, and we get a new entry for Yanma, the Clear Wing Pokemon. It reads, its eyes can see 360 degrees without moving its head. It won't miss prey, even those behind it. So that sounds like a regular dragonfly, and many other insects for that matter, that have the giant bulbous eyes with many, many sides to them that allow them to sort of see so many directions, every direction, I guess, at once. I feel like that is a very hard thing for creatures with only two eyes that face one direction to imagine. It sounds kind of headache-inducing to see everywhere all at once. But it obviously has its advantages. As we moved forward in this rock garden, suddenly a man dressed all in red jumps out and says, "Stop right there. I remember you. You're the one who foiled our fossil-finding plans. And now you're here standing around these stones. Do you have any idea what they even are?" "Of course you don't. You know nothing about the legend of 3,000 years ago that says..." "Wait, what does it say?" "Oh, whatever. Who cares about all of that? It's time for me to get some sweet revenge with style." The Team Flare member approaches us offensively, with their hands held in a very striking pose. We are challenged by the Team Flare grunt, who sends out a Houndour. Pancham is ready for this fight, fully recovered, and in a good position. The Houndour leads with a Smog attack, which does nothing, and Pancham's Karate Chop hits and knocks out the Houndour in one hit. And Leaf grows to level 19. Well, that was lucky. I forgot that Leaf actually was not ready for this fight. All of those Yanmas had brought him down to very little HP. And now that he is against the Team Flare Grunt's second Pokemon, a Golbat, Snorlax is also wearing a rocky helmet, so that whenever a Pokemon touches it with an attack, they take some damage as well. But the Golbat got smart and used a Confuse Ray, and now Munchie is confused and its attack failed to hit the Golbat. But let's try the new Strength attack. If it can make it through, it survives the second wing attack. The Golbat takes a little more damage from the rocky helmet, and Snorlax pushes through the confusion to use its Strength attack, knocking out the Golbat, and grows to level 19 as a result. And that takes down this grunt yet again. He is in extreme dismay. You may have beaten me again, he says, but when I lose, I go out in style. I wonder what that means. I imagine he would throw down a smoke ball and disappear. But instead he just says, how could I lose again to a little punk like you? What are you, some kind of trainer prodigy or something? In fact, I am. It sounds like he's getting a call or something. Oh no, he's turning around, looking further back. He says, I see. Roger that. Oh, I guess he did have some kind of call. Gotta love the Holocaster. I can get updates on my mission in real time with this stylish device. Whoever thought this thing up must have been one truly stylish individual too. Team Flare really likes style. And on that note, it's time for me to scram with style. The Holocaster is like a proto-smartphone, I guess. Except instead of looking at a screen, it sort of displays a hologram just above its surface. So, here we are, having defeated that Team Flare grunt. We get to continue to walk around this rock garden here, which I do remember something about. I know that later in the game, I think it is revealed what these rocks really are, and I think even the landscape changes. But that's still a long way off. Let's fight this trainer here. He says, I can feel the energy from these stones enhancing my already potent psychic powers. I guess psychics are drawn to this garden of rocks that emanates some sort of special energy. And this psychic starts off with a Meditite, sort of a counterpart to Pancham here. They're both fighting types, but Meditite is also a psychic. And Pancham took the opposite direction and goes to the dark side. But not yet. It's still just an innocent, feisty panda. But we're not going to keep him out. Instead, we'll send in Frogadier to take on this little meditating munchkin. Frogadier will use water balls, but the Meditite detects it and so protects itself from the attack. So we will use it again, and this time it hits, drowning the battlefield in water and leaving the Meditite with confusion, which then causes it to smack itself in the face and prevents it from attacking our Frogadier. We'll slow things down a bit and just hit it with a lick, which is super effective, and then also paralyze the Meditite, so it's now paralyzed and confused. But it uses the Mind Reader attack to take aim, but I don't think it's gonna get there. Oh, it did get to go first though, but its paralysis kept it from attacking, and Frogadier finishes it off with a little bubble. Leaf and Frogadier both get some experience, and rocks as well. A place in our world which maybe has mysterious energies emanating from the rocks. But it looks like this path will take longer than we will be able to travel this evening. And there appears to be just ahead of us here another Team Flare member ready to bring some style and fire. But we're also going to hold off on that until next time, as I must drift on. But I want you to know that I really appreciate you being here with me, and I hope that our time together has been relaxing and peaceful for you. Because I know that as fun and simple as the Pokemon games can be, I enjoy them because of that. Because so many things in life are not as fun and simple as this game, or as colorful, or as stylish even. But it is nice to be able to take a break and to give our bodies and our minds a chance to slow down and relax and rest. So I hope that you continue to rest peacefully until you are ready to move on to your next path, battle, or just the next step